Well, hello, happy campers. Tony from Stressless Camping. And I wanted to share a review with you of our thoughts and experiences with the B&W Continuum trailer hitch that we've had now for a few months. We use our Ram 2500 and we tow a Rockwood Mini Lite 2205S travel trailer. We actually had this trailer weighed professionally, which I think is always a good idea for any truck and trailer. And what we found was that there was almost 1,000 pounds of tongue weight, which is way more than we thought. And that might have to do with all the solar and lithium and just the junk in the trunk, right? In fact, I think everybody should have their trailer weighed. But because of this, we decided to upgrade our truck from a 1,500 to a 2,500. And at the same time, we got the B&W Continuum weight distribution hitch. And then we embarked on a journey. Our home base is in New Mexico, and we went all the way to Northern California. We visited Quartzsite. We just camped on the coast. We traveled through the desert. So there was about a 5,000-foot elevation change because Albuquerque area is 5,300 feet in elevation, and we even camped on the beach in Northern California. So that's sea level because there's the sea. We went through the deserts of Southern California and Arizona, and there were some pretty strong crosswinds. So that was a good chance to test how good the stability control and the weight distribution hitch is. And another thing, there, 2-lane roads, especially the cattle trucks that pass you. We tested how the sway control was on the hitch, and it was pretty remarkable, I have to say. Now, one thing that's unfair about this test is that we bought the 2500, the Ram 2500, and got the Continuum, so we changed the truck and trailer, and that makes it more difficult to say how much differently this hitch performs than the one we had previously. So take that for that. I will say, though, that it was quite remarkable in terms of the sway control and all of that. It was much easier to drive than it had been in the past. I'm not going to tell you about installing this other than just a little bit about that, because there's such good videos from like eTrailer and B&W itself that why watch mine when theirs is so well done. In fact, the one from eTrailer, and I'll put a link to that here somewhere. The one from eTrailer is good because they had a Flagstaff, which is kind of the same as a Rockwood, and the point of that is I had to actually notch a piece of the frame on our trailer to make this fit. But okay, so first of all, what is the B&W Continuum hitch? It's a hitch that uses a hydraulic ram and composite springs to actually perform the task of weight distribution between your tow vehicle and trailer. And proper weight distribution means that your tow vehicle handles more safely because the weight of the trailer that typically might, use the downforce from the hitch to raise the front of the truck and hurt steering, essentially. The weight distribution hitch accommodates that. So now the steering and handling on your tow vehicle is back to being safe. One of the things I really liked about the B&W hitch is that you can make adjustments along the way, and you can do that with a tape measure because as part of the installation, you'll measure how much difference there is in your truck when you have the trailer on and when you don't. So with the tape measure, you can see what's happening. No scale needed at this point. And you can use the hydraulic ram in the B&W Continuum hitch to actually compensate for whatever weight is in your trailer. And it's absolutely revolutionary how they've done this because, you don't have any pieces that are separate or, that you have to deal with when the truck and trailer are unhitched. They're all basically attached. And also you can make accommodations. So let's say you have a in our trailer, we have a 54-gallon freshwater tank. Well, that's 400 pounds. That makes, the front of the trailer heavier or not, depending on how full that is. As for installing the hitch, I have to say B&W, their instructions were clear and precise and really easy. For most trailers, you don't have to make any changes to the trailer itself. It's all completely bolt on. I'll put a link to B&W's video somewhere around here. And that's the video I used to actually install the hitch. No welding needed, no damaging your frame, all of that. Now, I will say, the way the Rockwood and Flagstaff trailers are, there is a horizontal mount under the propane tanks, and I did have to cut a notch in that. And this is the size of the notch that I cut. So it wasn't a small thing. And I did check with Rockwood. They weren't thrilled that I was doing it, but they said that should be okay. However, they mentioned that they may make changes to their frame moving forward, but who knows, right? The other thing, the hitch we used to have, I used to have to fiddle with the angle of the actual hitch on the truck. There were adjustment knobs that you had to use screwdrivers to adjust and all that. Not here. It's just the hitch on your truck is where it is, period. You don't have to fiddle with that. Hooking the truck and trailer together couldn't be easier. Well, I guess it could if it did it itself, right? But you hook the truck to the trailer, you slide the Continuum weight distribution module into a locking hitch on the bottom of the hitch, and bam, you're hooked up. You just have to adjust the hydraulics, which has a handle to do that. And of course, you put on your safety chains and your 7-pin and your brake, emergency brake wire and all that stuff. But it's really well thought through. And my wife and Peggy hooked everything up multiple times. And she's like, yeah, it's pretty easy. And unhooking also easy. And again, you're not dealing with all these weight distribution bars or any of that silly stuff. It's just all there attached to the trailer. In fact, they put a little hanger that the weight distribution component of the hitch goes on, that goes on your tongue jack. And so it just sits there off the ground, and that's part of what comes in the package. So again, no storing bars or other stuff like that. Everything just stays attached. And because this doesn't really use friction like some hitches to accommodate the sway control, it's not going rah, rah, rah as you go around a corner. It's just really quiet. In fact, here, I'll play this video of me making some turns. So isn't that cool? Okay, so again, you can adjust to the weight of the trailer. So let's say you're using this on like a horse trailer or a car trailer or something like that. That really, the weight will change tremendously, empty or loaded. And again, you can adjust as needed. I mentioned as we were on 2-lane roads with cattle trucks, which always seem to be going at like literally flat out, right? And they just throw your truck and trailer around, but not with this. And again, some of that is probably the Ram 2500, and some of that is the sway control on this. But whatever it is, it makes for a much easier drive. So there you go. All right, I've had a few questions that people have asked me in campgrounds and such. So one of those, the way you accommodate the weight is there is a handle, like a pump handle, that you can increase or decrease the weight or the pressure in the hydraulic cylinder to compensate for the weight. And people said, does the handle get floppy or loose? No, not at all. There's a little place that it sits. We've never had issues with that in the 3,400 miles that we've used this thus far. So that. Another question: does the bottom of the hitch scrape? Yes, occasionally on some driveways it does. It's not frequent, but it does happen. Um, and I've looked underneath, and it doesn't seem to have damaged anything, but there are scratches on the weight distribution piece. So yeah, it does hang pretty low, and it occasionally does scratch. So there you go. The other question I've heard is that the hydraulic system can lose pressure. And only once has that happened to us when we forgot to snug. There's an adjustment valve that you open or close. So when you unhitch, you open this valve and it releases the pressure on the hydraulic cylinder. And when you hook up and pump the hydraulic cylinder, it creates the weight distribution component of this hitch. And once we didn't tighten the knob enough, and there is a little set screw on it. So if you have one of these hitches and are experiencing a loss of hydraulic pressure, just check that, because it's been really good. All right, so what are my conclusions on this hitch? Well, I'm completely happy with it. It's the best hitch I have ever used. I'm just so impressed with this. The quality of the materials, the instructions, their video, dealing with B&W, it has been just a super experience. I can't speak more highly about the product or the people. The one thing I wish I had this with the old Ram 1500, only because I can't say, oh, this is so much better, or it's not that much better, or whatever. It's this Ram 2500 and that Rockwood Mini Lite 2205. That combination and this hitch really have, it's just a much better driving experience. We don't get pushed around by wind and that sort of thing. It's just steady. That's the best I can say. It's just really rock solid. The installation process on this hitch is just really very simple. It's all just using bolts essentially, except, as I said, on ours with that notch I had to do in the frame. But for the most part, most trailers, it's just bolting stuff on, and they have torque specs for the all the bolts on this thing. And really, if you don't already have a torque wrench, you should get one, just because trailer tires can get loose, and having a torque wrench with any towable RV or trailer is a smart decision. So I had one, and I got to use it to make sure everything was set, and then I've measured it since, and it stayed set. So there you go. So I have a complete written review with even more details available at stresslesscamping.com. And by coincidence, that's also where we have all sorts of other articles that can help you in the RV, journey that you might have. We also have discounts and deals. We do a once a week podcast, audio podcast. So if you're into RVing and podcasting, we might be a great place for you to come and visit. There's much more. There are RV shows and just a lot of great resources there. So thank you very much for your time. Again, once again, there's a full written review of the B&W Continuum hitch. And, well, happy camping.